Well, happy Friday, everybody. Nick Slavik, proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company here, and also the host of Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsman, a painter, entrepreneur to answer any of your questions. Now, for homeowners, this is a forum where you can ask anything you've ever wanted to ask a professional painter. And for pros, this is for you guys. We can talk entrepreneurship, we can talk apprenticeship, marketing, accounting, whatever you want. Today, super special show. One of my favorite people, Jason Paris, owner of Paris Painting. We are sort of, what's the word?
Cooperation.
Cooperation. So we cooperate
Friendlies.
And we're sort of competition.
Yeah.
The biggest growth that I've ever had in my business occurred over the last 2 years, and it's because I actually talk to other painters. Sorry, we're getting a bunch of messages here. And you would think that all these other painters would be your competition. Now, when you go to the PDCA National Expo and you meet people from New Jersey, obviously they're not going to be your competition. There's a free flow of information. Jason is less than an hour from me.
Yeah.
And he's in the heart of the cities here. I'm just south of the cities. You would think that we would drive by each other, see each other at the paint store, and just scowl at each other. But he has become one of my greatest allies recently, and the information that we exchange, I hope makes your business better. I know it makes my business better. So, cooperation. Competition,
yeah.
Cooperation.
Yeah.
I love it. So today, I was so impressed the last time I was here, especially by his projectors here and his analytics that he does. I actually implemented a lot of that. Since the last time we got together, I have actually 90% digitized my business. I've gone pure Google, and I actually have a projector, which I thought was, oh, well, someday, 30 years from now, I'll find a use for it. But all of a sudden, I didn't force it. You just wait for the need to come, and when the need comes, it's overwhelmingly abundant that you need to do something. So if I had not met Jason and come up here and seen this, it may have taken me a much longer time to come apart this stuff. So today, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Any questions you guys have, you can type down here, and we're going to go through a few things here first, and then we're going to get to a bunch of your questions. We got some people looking on too. We'll probably grab them and put them on the screen too. But one of the things that Jason is best at least from my perspective, is analytics. Would you call it production, or would you call it logistics?
Logistics. Yep.
Yeah. So again, like Jason said it best last episode, nobody's world class at anything, but we do a lot of things that are good, and you may not come into contact with somebody else who's going to do them any better than you. So I was super impressed by that side of it. And one of the questions I've been wrestling with lately in my own business is I have to pay overtime now at 40 hours plus. It used to be 48 hours. So now I'm going with the I'm trying to make a decision now. Do I take my 10 or 11 or 12 people and just keep going 50 hours? And obviously there's going to be a huge expense relative to that extra hours. Or do you then do something else? Is that extra time going from a 40-hour week to a 50-hour week with your people, with your 10 to 12 people, is the revenue that you produce better than what you have to pay them in overtime and extra burden? So I did my quick calculation. Jason and I sort of looked it over, and this is not an exact science. Obviously, this doesn't take into account every single minute thing that it possibly could, but this helps me make a decision. So when I wake up early in the morning and I think about my own business, I get out the spreadsheet and I start running numbers, and in the act of doing it, I actually figure out what to be concerned about and not. So we're going to go through a round numbers painting company, and we're going to try to figure out, at least help us move in the direction of a decision, whether to take 10 people, have them work 50 hours a week, or not. And is it worth it, the extra? So what's obviously we'd have to figure out first number.
Yeah.
What would that be?
So I think the first one we would do is revenue that you're producing with your current team. So you said you have 10 people.
10 people.
And we're going to plan for 2,000 hours of productivity per person per year. I'm going to use an industry average, which is about $55 an hour gross.
Mm-hmm.
That's with materials. So that's typically what you'll see from the data I've looked at in a company. So here I'm just going to type equals, actually I'm going to label this first. I'm going to call it revenue. I'm going to say equals 55 times 2,000 hours.
Yep.
Times 10 people. So you've got $55 an hour of revenue produced, 2,000 hours per person, and 10 people.
10 people.
So you're running just over $1 million
yep.
at that size. That's kind of what you're seeing kind of day one. It would also be so this would be standard hours. We'll do overtime hours. So.
Oh, and we should say too here in at least Minnesota, which it's pretty standard, but overtime here is time and a half. So might be different in your particular area, but that's what we'll be basing it off of.
Yeah. So if we're doing, it's gonna be so the formula we'll use is basically it's still gonna be $55 an hour that they're producing.
Mm-hmm.
You're still gonna have 10 people.
10 people.
But now, instead of 2,000 hours, they're producing 2,200 hours per person. What do we want to do?
Or is it 2,500? Because they're doing.
We want to do 10 hours of overtime per week.
10 hours overtime a week, so that would add 25% onto the.
Yeah, so 2,500.
So so that would make sense. Yep.
So now you're producing more, right? Because they're working more hours. That's great. So this is.
You're producing $275,000 more dollars, and now.
That's right.
That's great.
That's great.
Now you have to figure out what it's costing.
Yeah, so what's the cost? So I think the next thing we should go through is your labor burden.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use, again, kind of industry average from what I've seen, talking to other companies, looking at data sets, which is about $21 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That was your burden rate.
And that includes wages, work comp, payroll taxes, that's the whole number?
Yeah, yep. And this would be, so if you're paying someone on payroll, this would be workers' comp, liability insurance, FICA, FUTA, SUI. If you're paying a subcontractor, it'd be just the dollar that you give them, or a 1099 guy.
So for a full employee, that's all that they cost you.
That's your burden.
Yep.
Your COG burden. There's like soft burdens that you'd have.
Yep.
Infrastructure. There's the emotional burden.
There's the emotional burden for sure.
People.
Which don't work well on spreadsheets.
Right. So all right. So we have, again, you have 10 guys.
Yep.
Working 2,000 hours. That costing you 21. Now the overtime hours, we still have that. So let's do 10 times 21 times 2,000. But then we also have an additional 500 hours. Hold on, what do we do?
It'd be 5,000 hours. It's each individual.
Yeah, 500 per person.
Per person times 10 people. So it'd be 5,000 extra hours onto that year.
So 5,000 hours times 21 times 1.5. So you're no longer doing 21 times 1.
Before you hit enter too, finish that thought, but I have a question about this for you then.
Yeah, you're doing it times 1.5 just on those incremental hours. Obviously, when someone dips into overtime, it's not a retroactive time and a half. It's just on the incremental hours.
Yeah. So and one thing that somebody will probably let us know is of your burden of 21. It's not going to be time and a half of 21, right? It'll just be on the wage portion. So it might be. Am I thinking about that correctly?
Well, a lot of the percentages.
Are we splitting hairs? Does it really is it material to this decision?
So yeah, there are some nuances that there are some percentages that only go on the first X dollars of revenue that they accrue per year, but in general, these percentages are based off of what their wage is, which is so it's a percentage of a number that's already scaled.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it is the true burden rate that you'd be multiplying. With a little bit of nuances.
And again, that's why we caveated this whole thing with this is a decision-making tool. This isn't going to the accountant.
Yeah,
this is to help you drive towards a decision.
Yeah, before I started my painting company, I sold payroll systems to small businesses for 13 months, and so it could dig really deep into payroll stuff if you wanted to. It's really boring.
And we should also mention you're an econ major, right?
Yes.
So all right.
Okay.
Coming from that, you're a supercomputer
so it's gonna be
that's helping make a thumbnail sketch.
Yeah,
so.
It'll be embarrassing when this has holes in it, and the internet world lets me know about it. So this is our labor burden, and then just to flush this out, we should all show what materials, and then there's company overhead.
Yep. And
again, I'm going to use what I found to be industry standards, and it's going to change based off your size. But for $1 million company, you're roughly seeing 15%. So this would be basically what you're producing times 0.15, which would be the same. You're producing more, so buying more materials. And overhead is typically around 10%, again, for the companies I've talked to and the data sets I've seen. So this would, again, be B2 times 0.1, and then we just bring that over here. And so what we're really interested in, the reason we're all doing this game, is this minus, actually let's do it the fancy way, minus the sum of B3 to B5.
That's why we're here.
And so if I'm doing this right, you're actually making a lot more money. So you're spending more money for sure, right?
Yep.
You're spending about $157,000 in labor more.
Yep.
But you're producing $275,000 more.
So in our quick thumbnail sketch decision-making calculation, this is a scary number when you're saying, oh my God, my same people, I'm taking $275,000 and dispersing it between my 10 laborers. Like, I better be making money after that. So this actually shows theoretically that you're actually 48,000 to the good based on paying them overtime.
Right.
Yes, no?
From what I see here. And
thumbnail sketch.
Yeah, it is like a penny wise, pound foolish thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have a mental hang up around, but that's gonna take me so much time. That's gonna cost so much.
Yep.
But while ignoring, well, what is the payoff of it?
Yep.
Like, yes, that might take you 40 hours to do, but if it's gonna save you, 50 hours next week, then maybe you do it.
Exactly.
Or this is gonna cost you, you're going to pay $157,000 in labor, but you're going to gain $275,000 in revenue, which translates at these industry margins to $48,000 of profit.
Yep.
So this is like, Nick and I were just talking, because I think this is a real world scenario for you.
I need to make this decision this year.
So Nick is like facts versus feeling. Like, here's what I feel, and I just said, like, here's the facts on it. Now, this doesn't take into, so anytime there's an equation, there's like, an equation is basically variables, and the variables that aren't in here are the well-being of your labor force. So we're talking like some of the guys really want overtime.
Some of them depend on it actually, because we've been doing this for so long. Some of them budget their home off 50 hours a week.
Yep. Another thing would be just your company structure.
Yep.
And so if you could certainly forego this model of paying overtime and hire a couple additional people.
And that was the next big thing, because people get mired down in the Ford, Chevy, the Democrat, Republican sort of thing, and they might be missing an awesome other option. So based on this, and again, this doesn't take in any of the gushy stuff, like, do you have the work to support this?
Yeah. This was assuming zero, again, and so you'd say, okay, that's what, in this scenario, when Nick first brought it to me, I was like, okay, what's your marketing cost in that 275? Assume there's a 5 to 6% marketing cost on it. But this scenario is just assuming you're production restrained.
We're production restrained.
Which Nick is so talented. When you say Minnesota, you think Nick Slavik. And
you see a lot more Paris trucks around than Nick Slavik trucks.
So he's of course production restrained because everybody loves him. But
well, because I had a regressive upbringing and I don't meet my capacity, but that's a whole other deal. But so given that, if you don't have the extra work to do, or if working another 25% of the hours, you need an extra production manager to manage that, or if your people aren't up to snuff yet, if you have to add some other overhead to support that, then this number is going to change. But if you are a factory that's running at 70%, 75%, and it doesn't take any extra power or labor or inputs to get you to 100%, this is a perfect scenario for that.
Yeah, and I would love to. People are going to make comments, and I'd love to hash it out after the show.
Absolutely.
People will make comments, but just one way of looking at it, I think the value in going through an exercise like this is the mindset of facts versus feelings. So you come in and you're like, okay, here's this, and it's just, part of it was looking in the mirror, right? So Nick and I went through this with real numbers, and it's just looking in the mirror. Okay, here's reality. Now you get to decide what you want to do based off your philosophy, based off of the soft variables that are involved, but hard data can at least show you the mirror, and so you're not basing decisions off of feelings. You actually have hard data that is a more true mirror.
I wish we were dealing with machines.
Right.
But all this represents a whole pile of people and their families and their well-beings. And
at the end of the day, could probably be quantified to some extent as soft variables. It's just a much more complex
very
spreadsheet.
Complex and not predictable, and it can go wildly. So this brings up the next thing, which is, for me, a lot of times in business and personal life, there's always, you think there's this thing, and you have to make some decision based on the data, but really, this might point you in the direction of, well, what's the next best alternative? What's the opportunity cost of doing this versus something else? So we discussed, well, okay, can we produce more and not pay overtime? Well,
Right.
the quick answer is, okay, then if we had to just add more staff, how many more people would we have to add to equal that extra 5,000 hours? And that's an easy thumbnail sketch. That's 2.5 employees.
Yeah.
And then you'd have no overtime. And then we'll take a look at the ramifications of that.
Yeah, so that would be an additional 5,000 hours
5,000 hours, yep.
you're looking to do, and then that's 2,000 hours per person. So you're right, it's 2.5 people
2.5 people.
that you're looking to hire. And so in this case, your labor burden is not going to be at a multiple. So
Nope.
it'd actually just be, I'm going to jump over here.
That's just a math problem.
I'm just going to copy this and then take it at times, I'm just going to do times 1 for the sake of.
Is this the greatest thing ever? This is what I do early morning. Run through my little spreadsheets, and in the doing, I make a lot of decisions like this. They're not as complex as Jason's war room here, but
So, and then we'll use the same, your materials and everything are going to stay the same. So now, basically, you would net quite a bit more money. So that's great. So now your new labor burden is about $50,000 less than your overtime scenario. It is still
same amount of hours though.
Yeah, it is still $75,000 more than your standard no overtime.
Yep.
Because you're hiring 2.5 more people.
Exactly. You just got physical more bodies on the side.
You are now making about $500,000 gross margin as opposed to $450,000.
Can we do this calculation for that one?
Yeah. So you just want So we'll just do equals this minus this. So you're making, or you could go even from scenario 1 equals. Actually, let's go over here equals this minus this. Okay, so this makes sense. Like you make that much, per person.
So I'll kind of walk through again in kind of summary. So the question was, I have in a theoretical company, let's have 10 employees. Do we just take those 10 employees, and because we're production constrained, there's always more work than we can handle, do we just have them do 50 hours a week versus 40? Or do we hire 2.5 more people, or X number of people to produce that? And what is the ramifications? Is the extra overtime you pay these people worth it in the end? So basically the 3 outcomes, the 3 data sets that we have now to help make the decision are, here's what we're doing 40 hours a week. This is what you're left over with. We go to overtime, and that's what we have there.
Yep.
And then this is the extra that we pay.
This was just showing the difference between columns B and column C.
Yep.
And then this is just more hours, more people.
So we came into, yes, it's
This is your delta.
given the parameters that we had in our theoretical business, you would be better off, but at a lower returning rate.
Yeah.
Every hour worked after that 40, your margin would be less and less, but at the end of the year, net, you're still better.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
making some assumptions around marketing costs and production restraints and.
Yeah, making sure basically no extra expenses for that extra 10. And so then it led us to the question of, well, what if we just add more people? We'd have to add 2.5 more people to get that, and it actually shows. That's sort of, if we have to pick these 3, that's the clear winner right there.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, that again, you kind of there's soft variables or side variables you put in there. You talk about larger business creates more exposure of risk and variance, but there's also value in each lifetime of a client and the exposure that you get in goodwill.
The extra jobs you get to. So
especially assuming, like with a lot of people, so let's say you're spending more overtime hours, you have happier people because you have great people. Some people, they push them on overtime, they get grumpier people.
Absolutely, yeah, and I took that for granted. So you may, in some companies, you may never have to do this because nobody's working more than 40. At 40, they're setting it down and going home.
Yeah.
So that's an easy one. Then you just add more people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, all right, I'm going to scroll through here, see if we have any questions. And, whatever you guys want to ask the mastermind Jason here, go right ahead. Bez, past apprentice of mine, thank you for watching. Omar, Johnny Dater, thanks for watching. Angela Snyder, Daniel Petrolak, Juliano, my good friend from Brazil, Russ Perry, as usual, Kelly Hartle, Chadwick, John Yondek, Jose Gonzalez Flores, thank you for watching. Omar, appreciate it. Alicia. Daniel, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate you watching. James Gilbert. Mike Danahy, thank you for watching. Dean Cudd. Yorandir Batista. Dustin, Tom Mossberg, Carlos. Michael Van Morik from the Netherlands, thank you for watching. Mike Danahy, conditional formatting. Stephen Lyon, Pat Haas, Aaron Campbell. Let's see if anybody's got some questions here. Oh, Chris Shank chiming in. Thank you for watching. Mark Johnston, my favorite historical restoration consultant here. Matt McHugh, Richard Heilman as usual. Thank you for watching. Wes, my friendly Sherwin-Williams rep, was on last week. Let's see who else is on here. Okay. Russ Perry, wouldn't you have increased work comp percentages? So, okay, this is what we were talking about. Yes. If we want to do 1,000 more lines on here, we could get down to the penny of what this could cost. But this is a decision-making process.
Yeah,
correct?
your 21 should include, so workers' comp and unemployment are your two variable percentages when it comes to your labor burden.
Yep.
Everything else is
so those will rise and fall with the amount of hours.
And your wage, right? Your wage is a variable. But
Absolutely.
everything, so you can control your unemployment to some extent, depending on the number of claims you have, as well as your workers' comp. That's going to flux depending on the number of claims you have and really what kind of you can present to your company to show that you're going to minimize risk.
Yep.
So those are variables, but we are doing, so you would assume, I think the average wage that you see in painting is around 17, which gives you, maybe it's 18, that gives you a labor burden of about 21.
Yep.
With a roughly about 1.25 multiple is what you see on average.
Yeah.
Different by state, different by area, different by type of company and how many claims you've had, things like that. But your workers' comp is scaling off of that 1.5, which is your 21. So hopefully that answers the question, but that should, the 21 is assuming not a wage, but a labor burden, which takes workers' comp into account.
And yes, we could drill down to the penny here, but immaterial to the actual decision. I mean, we're looking for
large scale.
Yeah,
but it is a good point to make sure, when you're doing these multiplications, like it is taking into account workers' comp, because that is, again, I think the mindset that I wanted to. So there are like three things I wanted to do on this show. One was talk about frenemies and competition, and just the spirit. I know that the PDCA hosts your show, and it's about equipping contractors with networking until they need to grow their business, and just show that even two guys. I mean, we are in the same neighborhoods.
We are as close to possibly being. Yeah, we are competition.
We're in the same neighborhoods.
Yeah, and for not only jobs but people too. Yeah. I mean, this is a labor.
But philosophically, there's much more upside. I feel like there's much more upside than downside to sharing, especially with someone like Nick. So I'll just we had a conversation. The people that I don't like competing against are the chuck and the trucks. People who are going to go out of business in 3 years once they learn what taxes are. I actually would like.
You've summarized 90% of our industry.
Yeah, I would actually like Nick to be more successful, and I wouldn't be too sad if he came up here, just so people got more used to a good process and a good product and then a good price.
Yep.
So in some ways, I kind of am selfishly trying to raise the industry standard because that's what I compete really well against.
Quick question for you. You may or may not know, but if there's anybody in our state that knows, it'd be you. I get asked a lot. Population of the Twin Cities. How many painting companies? Who's got the big market share? I mean, not the specific company, but what are we looking at in our industry, in our neck of the woods here? What do you know and not know?
The data that I have is basically from our vendors.
Yeah.
So the two major players in our market are Sherwin-Williams and Hirschfield's.
Yep.
At least with contractors, and then you have your DIY stores like your Home Depots and your Aces and things like that.
Yep.
At least in general. I know you do a lot of Ace hardware because they're close to your
proximity.
House. Yeah. So the information that I've gotten from vendors, and it's different by segment. So I'm in residential repaint, and you're in residential repaint. There aren't many companies that are my size, or I think even your size, in residential repaint. From what I've heard, and this is just from the vendors. Yeah. So there's one other company in the Twin Cities that is my size in residential repaint.
Yep.
Now, if you aggregate some of the franchises together, they would be, but we're still, you put the two largest franchise operators in the metro together, and we're still bigger than the two of those combined.
Well, that's good perspective.
So it is perspective on it, but I would say there's thousands and thousands there are thousands and thousands of painters. It's a huge market. Extremely bottom heavy, and even the largest players have single digit ownership of market share.
That's true. So there's not three companies sucking up 70% of the market.
I think if you were to get into something extremely niche, and I talked on this with some other people I know, but if you were to get extremely niche, so if I were to start bidding on, like military complex repaints.
Yep.
I'd probably run through the same 3 or 4
Yeah.
painters every time.
Absolutely.
Or I know some other paint companies that do multi-housing bids, and you'll see the same 4 or 5 big players in that. That's a little more market share, or you actually strategize against who you're competing with.
Yeah.
But in my experience, in my philosophy with residential repaint, is it really is kind of an abundance mindset of there's, even if my pie in the sky, largest I would ever want to get is 2% market share, right? Would be bigger than the companies that I know of, like on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Absolutely.
But that would still mean that there's 98% of the market that I either don't want or can't get to.
At 2%, if you own 2% of the entire Twin Cities market, unbelievable size business, unbelievable. I mean, it would be one of the most impressive entities in our industry.
Right.
2% of the market share
Right.
here, which is insane when you think about it.
And you start thinking about all the bridges that get painted and all the striping on parking lots that happen. And, I mean, there's just, you kind of view it as almost acreage of painting that happens in the metro on the insides of structures and the outsides.
You think of the square footage of things that will or need to be painted.
There's a lot of substrates that need protective coatings, unless you want to just replace your substrate. But a lot of it needs to be protected, and that's with the coating, and someone needs to apply it. And right now, those are done by painting companies.
So, and I've always been going by the total number of paint companies in the United States. I heard 450,000 a long time ago. Sometimes that seems super high to me, and sometimes
seems low.
Really?
I think it would seem. I mean, well, like, is that registered companies?
Well, and then you get into the census numbers too, where technically, in the county that I live in, if you go by the unemployment numbers, there's only 1,900 people in my entire county looking for a job, and I just had 25 applicants for my last job. So evidently, there's either a discrepancy there, or so there's not something we understand. So I'm always curious about that, but I'm always curious, just like decision making, we don't need to know to the one, but is there 1 million or is there 200,000?
Yeah.
I'm more curious about
some perspective on factors of scale.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'd be, and because
I get that from like Hirschfield's, and Sherwin-Williams.
Absolutely.
You ask them, how many gallons of this product are you pumping out into this area, and then what percentage of the market share do you think you have of that product and its competitors? So like,
it's backwards math.
Hirschfield's would be like their platinum, their platinum product. How many gallons are you pumping out of that, and how much do you think you own of that versus duration? Or you just ask Sherwin, how much duration are you pumping out?
Exactly.
And you take those two numbers and you say, okay, how many gallons of those products did I buy last year? And you're humbled pretty quick.
Yeah.
But then you look, and that doesn't even touch the DIY market.
Exactly.
Which, if you look out the next coming decades, you got the millennials, and no one likes millennials. We have some millennials here.
We have, and I got to
show
you this.
Millennials they don't want to do anything. They're not good painters.
It's do it for me, right?
The do it for me generation.
So I'll spin this around, but this is, everybody always asks about the millennials. This is an entire business run by millennials. So we got production manager, right, over there. We got new guy coming on. Future. And then Hoken. So yeah, these are all millennials here. So this is everybody complains about these young whippersnappers that don't like to get out there and work, and this is probably one of the most progressive painting entities that I've ever seen.
I would say so. This has kind of been a theme that I talk about as well, but just the upside that are in the trades.
Yeah.
And we are a company of millennials. My entire leadership team is millennials, and they're not. I think a lot of them aren't here by accident. I mean, there's a lot of upside that's happening in a company like this, but also in this industry and in this trade.
Because the one thing, I was actually reflecting publicly last night on Facebook about a very small percentage of our industry grew up desiring to be a paint business owner. So everybody that is in my business came from something else. It sounds like everybody in your business was a functioning citizen out there doing something at a real job and came here.
So Hogan,
why?
I don't know. Are you willing to come over?
Yes. Yeah, come on over, man.
So Hogan's gonna come on over. Hogan worked at just down the road. I'll let you introduce yourself. I need something to drink.
So my name's Hoken. I take care of the majority of the estimating and sales for us. And so just down the road from here is a Honeywell location.
Yeah.
So one of the largest Honeywell locations in Minnesota, or certainly the largest location here in Minnesota, but one of the larger ones in the country too.
Yeah.
So I worked for 4 years as a financial analyst. So I studied accounting in college, and that was, I didn't necessarily want to do that I kind of was trying to build business skills. But
yeah,
worked as an accountant for a little while, moved into corporate finance, did that, and I knew Chet previously.
Another millennial.
Yep. So got to know Jason, started learning a little bit about the trades.
So why would you ever leave? I mean, words that
Sure.
to me ring real job, corporate finance,
Right.
and all the things that we think about, nice buildings, weekends. Why would you do this then?
Yeah. So I think for me, I didn't necessarily want the comfort of those jobs. So I think there's an element of there's
Upward mobility here.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say in there too, it's comfort, but it's at the expense of creativity. Oftentimes,
I get you. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the corporate machine.
So you weren't autonomous. You felt like you were fulfilling functions of
Yeah,
a larger thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Honeywell's a $40 billion, entity.
It's a behemoth.
Right. So it's kind of like to find yourself,
Soon enough, right?
Yeah. To kind of find yourself in that. But I mean, small business entrepreneurship was kind of always where I wanted to land. And so kind of then it's like, okay, well, where can I land? And then looking at the opportunity, especially for younger guys and gals in the trades, if you can, obviously the craftsmanship and the skill is important, but if you can bring
real business knowledge to it,
the business, the kind of the business side of things, that was kind of the opportunity that I saw Jason and Chet kind of capitalizing on. And
because if there's one thing you could say about the painting industry, not a whole bunch of savvy entrepreneurial go-getters. The bulk of our industry, the most vocal people online and in these groups, it's a self-selecting group. I mean, if you go to a PDCA national thing and you see people who run $18 million painting businesses, you're getting the complete wrong idea of what it is out there. It's the Chuck in the truck. It's the 1.5 guy. That's 95% of our market. So it's really cool to hear that, if there's anything we need, it's to bring the whole industry up, and it's with real knowledge.
Yeah.
It's all out there. It just hasn't really creeped in that much.
I think you're going to see more and more of this, especially as automation starts to come into play in the upcoming decades.
My God,
where smart, very capable, very talented guys are going to be flocking to the trades.
Yeah.
And a lot of the the Honeywell jobs of the world, the corporate finance jobs and the engineering jobs and those kinds of things, it's you can still get those just by virtue of if you graduate with a good enough GPA, you'll get the job.
Yeah.
But as more and more people are going to college, just if you graduate high school with a good enough GPA, at one point you could get some cool jobs.
Absolutely.
But just over time, everybody's going to go to college, and it's kind of what you're not really that different.
So it qualifies you for a more basic job nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So if Jason was not at the helm of this, would you have done this?
No, I mean, it was definitely so I come from kind of a blue collar background. My dad runs a dozer, so he's done that his whole life. My grandpa had his own excavating business for a little while. I have uncles who are carpenters and builders and stuff. So I grew up around it, so there's a degree of familiarity.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was just that kind of familiarity. So definitely having guys who knew what they're doing.
A good captain of the ship is always a good thing
absolutely.
too.
So I think it's and I think that there's something huge to be said for that of I think in these businesses when it is just yourself. I mean, Jason's talked about that. You've gone through that too.
Yep.
In the early stages when you're by yourself, it's really hard to be business minded and to really improve the processes because it's either you're too stressed or it's just
you're
it's kind of lonely and depressing.
If you shut down the factory to make a flow chart, you have just lost production that day.
Right.
So
But there's something too, I'm sure just whenever you have other people, it's encouraging, it's exciting. Creativity kind of happens a little bit easier whenever you're not just by yourself.
So how long have you been doing this with Jason now?
So I came on board June of this past year. So
okay.
7.
So what was the
8
biggest surprise about a painting business or the industry?
Oh no.
To be honest.
Biggest surprise
is
about
there
the
anything
painting
about our industry that was just you coming from a real job, is there anything that was oh my God, this is amazing, or oh my, this is so backward? I mean,
yeah. So I would say that there is that like working in finance or engineering, kind of these.
Yeah.
It's like I think even tradesmen, like maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I think that people at large undervalue just how much of the economy like building and trades are.
Yep.
That like obviously with like culturally it's become like less cool to be in the skilled trades.
Yeah.
And it seems cooler or more important to be an engineer or something. But
Yeah.
the financial industry is huge, and like engineering and computer science and all those things are very important to our economy. But like it's so important and huge. Like there's so many implications of getting buildings built and maintaining.
Well,
and stuff
it's
like
a large, and a lot of these are home businesses, or we're in an industrial park, and it's a nondescript building in a nondescript part of town, and that's what it is. And like when we get, even for my little town in New Prague, we get these census data back about here's how many businesses are here, here's what the retail community does downtown. And I'm sitting here at these economic development meetings screaming, what about the contractors? There are hundreds and hundreds of contractors that do hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of business, when you guys are so focused on a clothing resale shop downtown that does $100,000 worth of business every year, but you see it every day. There's there's home builders doing millions and millions of work of business, and it's a guy in a truck.
Right.
So, but you never see that in there, and I think people would understand how a lot, like my community is built on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
If we had to rely on retail downtown, it'd be fine, but it's everybody else who does all the stuff around there. So
yeah, and I think like going through business school, like there's there's popular podcasts and books like the 4-Hour Work Week book type books, the Gary Vaynerchuk type stuff that's very entrepreneurial focused, but it's all like tech and internet based.
Scale and sales.
Right.
And sell.
And it's like, that's obviously like very important. That's changing a lot of our economy and stuff, but like real business goes on in trades and like in contracting and so obviously you don't like, they're not going to make a show like a Shark Tank version of
it's not sexy.
Contracting. It's
we
not,
have the most innovative paint business ever. And what are you going to do? We're going to paint, but do a lot of it efficiently. That's not sexy.
Right. But like when you look at the numbers, it's just as big. Like it's just as crucial to our economy and stuff. So and
absolutely
the opportunity, like part of why it's not, it's definitely has a ton of room to
mature,
improve, and innovate and stuff. So, and that's what's exciting about being kind of being at the forefront and like the opportunity to be part of an industry that's ripe for innovation. And be part of that innovation.
And way overdue. I mean, when you think about the amount of variables that are floating around, we always joke about there's us, that's a variable, the homeowner, the house, all your employees, the weather. I mean, could you get a more unstable sort of thing that to try to systematize? And I think for so long real business acumen has just been away from that, because it's always just been, well, the real business people go do this. Well, all of a sudden we're seeing an industry that's like with just a little touch of business can be like legitimate now. So that's the hope, man.
Do you want to ping Micah as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me grab a cough drop here. You talk, Jason, with nobody else on the camera.
Oh, no. So this is my least favorite thing to do, which is talking in front of people. I took my disc profile. I'm a very low I, so I don't like interacting or sociability things.
And I'll scroll through and see what we got here. Too bad you can't charge customers time and a half. Well, that's depends how thrifty you are.
If they have like an urgent need where they want to get it done in time, you can say I can, but here's what's going to cost me. Palms open on it.
Tiny Major, what are you using as cost of living increase? That would be immaterial to this decision, maybe? Such a small number?
Yeah, I mean, not over 1 year.
Not over 1 year.
Right, so you set your labor burden, and then you'd say, okay, it's times 1.03.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would change, so the two variable numbers that we made assumptions on, well, we made a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
We assumed a gross revenue produced per hour, and we assumed a labor burden rate, which is going to be different for every company,
Absolutely.
but those are two averages that we've seen. So cost of living, you would adjust both those numbers every year.
Well, that, and I mean, you might as well take into account inflation and stuff then
Right.
too. So
Yeah.
I suppose it depends how detailed, but this was more of like a decision-making process here. So Stephen Lyon, I can't see the numbers. Oh, then we won't be so critical. I tell you what, I'll give you guys one quick glimpse of this guy here, and you guys will have to screenshot it, and it's probably mirrored, most likely, but you get what we were kind of trying to get at here with all this. So, okay, let's see what else we got here, see if we got any questions, and then we'll get to Micah here. Tyler Hansen from the Business Brush. We know him from there. Yeah, thanks for watching, man. John Yondick, what about dead time? Meetings, training, touch-up, warranty, etc. Time you pay but don't produce revenue.
Yes, yeah. So for me, some of that goes into my budget, which is overhead. And so like warranty time, we budget a certain amount of warranty based off of a percentage of previous year's totals. And then like meetings, meetings, training? Training I would put as a budget item.
Non-revenue producing items.
Non-revenue producing items would be more overhead. Or they'd be in the budget of what you sell a job. So like when we sell a job, we always put a certain factor in for setup and cleanup, knowing that those are going to happen.
Yep.
So that's how I would account for those from like just general business accounting.
So I do a real dumb version of that, you know, because at the growth stage I'm in, I need to pick and choose my battles. So every week we have a production meeting company-wide in an hour. So if there's, you know, a potential to have 400 hours work this week, 10 hours are just built into that. So that's always just built into my numbers. So you can do it easy like I do, or you can actually do it. You can actually calculate the cost. But either way, it's not so much always the exact number. It's trends of numbers or how they change. I guess that'd be the same thing, how they change. But for me, it's charting one number over time. And to me, it doesn't matter if that number is the number 3 or the number 300. It's just that you chart it and judge it against something a lot of the time.
It's good to have a mirror so you know where you're at, you know what you're doing. So if you need to change course, you can actually do it versus finding out, you know, months later.
Absolutely. All right, Chad Merriam, another local contractor here. Mike Danahy, hire one more and split the 60 extra hours amongst the guys that need the overtime. See more
Mike's
variables.
Mike's a good Excel guy.
Yep.
So he would be like,
Yep.
You could certainly just do that.
And you can actually, I just did this for a home builder who needed me to do a very, very tight budgeted, just above entry-level construction. And I actually ran about 6 arrangements of people, down from 2 people all the way up to my full company on this house.
Yeah.
And there's always, sometimes you find that one little sweet spot where you could save 10% on your labor by just having the right amount of, okay, we got 2 to 3 just lower apprentices and 1 craftsperson versus 2 craftspeople and maybe 1 you find a weird sweet spot. So that's kind of what he's doing there. It's like, how long do you want to play with this to find your sweet spot? And you can. So
and for you, I don't know if you want, like, I think you're like focused on, you want to grow first and then funnel some of that down. And I think you made a great point, which is just a good philosophy conversation of you can only focus on so much, which works in business. And like, I used to play a lot of StarCraft, which is a game, and a lot of that is you almost strategize around like mental and just focus taxing of your opponent. Knowing that you can only micro a certain battle so much, but then you also have to keep your mind on the micro game as well, which is building your economy and units and things like that. And so you can certainly win a micro battle over here, but you might lose the macro battle. Or you can only focus on macro, but then if you lose enough micros, it doesn't matter how strong your macro is.
Exactly.
And so you're kind of hitting on that point of, you know, you in some sense you kind of triage your business, especially when you're in growth mode.
Growth mode is a whole nother. You almost need to put your business in a jar, shake it up, and throw it out.
Always,
just what's there.
Make sure you always have enough pylons.
Exactly. So it's kind of funny, like, you know, sorry, Mike, I get off on tangents. We'll get to you in a second here, but it's basically like, you know, in this growth mode, if I tried to figure out where my marketing leads, where they're all coming from, how the funnels look, what's the return on investment, all this and that would be hours that I wouldn't be out selling, laying track out in front of my people, and I would actually be hurting my business at some point.
And people will argue with you about this, right? And
but I'm not. It doesn't mean I'm opposed to doing that. It's just right now, this year, I'm going to grow 70%, and I don't. There's enough leads, so I don't care where they come from. We can always go back and do a quick computation.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun because I get it, right?
Yeah.
I can, I'm just like, people will argue with you about it, but from what you're basically, if I'm going to mirror back what you're saying is you're trying to grow and scale so that you have something to share.
to analyze.
To analyze it, because it's, yeah.
And it's always my favorite thing in the universe is opportunity cost. What could you be doing with this time that would give you something better? And yes, you could analyze your marketing funnels, and you could get on Facebook and the analytics on your Facebook ads. You could spend your entire year doing that. But return on investment, and right now, I would be shutting down my business if I focused on Facebook ads and
If
who
you're
am I
not,
targeting.
like a good example we were talking about is if you're not returning people's phone calls, stop worrying about your Facebook analytics. Just return their phone calls.
Yep. Exactly. Show up on time.
Yeah.
All that sexy
stuff. The theme of millennials, so like you've met Chet, you've met Mark, you met Hogan.
Yep.
Micah's another really cool guy. And I think it's just a cool story to share because millennials get harped on so much and the trades like are dying, right?
Yeah.
But Micah, I'll let you introduce yourself and kind of your story. And
Yeah, my name is Micah.
Nice hat.
Thanks. I'm part of the crew now, so I'll start in May full time. I have had a great career in higher education as a director of admissions. So it's a really great career, great trajectory, great university. But you were just talking about opportunity cost.
Yep.
Where am I going to spend my time? I'm early 30s. And I'm a builder, creator. I love business. I love organizational health, working with KPIs, helping your staff feel really excited about what they're doing. I've got a great team right now with my current job where I'm at, but I'm leaving all that because I see so much opportunity in the trades. And when I'm thinking about putting my hours of time and work somewhere where I can be able to be a creator, be part of something big, I think the trades are having a rebirth. I think, there's obviously a lot of people really successful out there, but there is a trend of people who've had companies, great companies, they're starting to retire, but it is the Googles, it's the tech jobs, it's the financial industry, whatever it might be that millennials really want. They don't know what's behind their walls. They don't know what's on their walls.
Yeah.
They want to hire it done. I grew up with my dad. We did everything together. I mean, I'm finishing my basement right now all myself, and I think there's less of us out there, but I think, one of the reasons why they don't think trades is they kind of think blue collar. They think, like it's the humble trades. But it is such a place.
Because everybody's got a dad or an uncle that tended brick for 25 years, blew his back out, and then is now sitting on the couch, and just kind of stopped. So we have that whole, it's like people's mentality towards wallpaper. People have all taken wallpaper off, so they say never again. Yeah. They get one bad impression of something, and then but who would imagine that you come in here and the analytics and stuff that are on these things is amazing. I see a lot of real businesses that don't even do this sort of thing and put this much thought into it. So it's not like, oh my God, I left a corporate job to be a painter. No, you left a corporate job because you saw excitement and some entrepreneurial spirit. So when everybody in our industry, the elder statesmen say, what's wrong with these millennials? Why can't we get them? Well, do what Jason's doing.
Yes.
Have a business.
Yeah.
Be exciting and take something and make it real. Don't get a van and just yell at your employees all day. Why can't you do more?
Yeah.
Like, do this. This is what people want.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'd be a little cautious around don't tell everyone just to be Jason either, because
no, you know what I mean by do this. I mean, be real about this. Do some analytics.
Yeah, if you want to attract millennials, if you want to attract people who are going to leave a corporate job to come join your trades company, it's going to have to be exciting. It's going to have upside, and that's I think something we do really well.
Absolutely, and even the research backs that up. And nobody knew what to do with it for the last 2 years. But they say millennials want to be part of something, and everybody's like, well, they could. I give them a brush. They could be part of this project. It's like no, it's your company culture. It's how excited are you about the business? Are you moving? Because there's something that I didn't take into account even 2 years ago was how do I retain my employees? Well, one thing that an elder statesman told me was that if you're not growing, they're not going to see that. And if you're happy with 4 guys and you just driving around doing estimates all day, pretty soon that's when you start losing guys and they start their own. Yeah. But if they see you on a trajectory of growth and then there's a leadership team, then they have responsibility, then they have apprentices, they're going to stick with you way longer than if you just like, all right, here's your $22 an hour, we'll see you in 10 years.
And it was on, maybe it was like the Contractor Fight podcast, but I heard a guy talking about what you described, where everybody has that uncle who's a painter who's tired and comes home.
Tom Reber, yeah, he talks
comes in
about that all the time.
His tired old truck, and if you want to attract more people to the trades, be that uncle that's driving the BMW home from your painting company, and is going on vacation and doing very well. So I think that is probably going to be how we attract people to the trades as well. Is he's a great guy, but just respect yourself. Don't settle. Get what you're worth, and push it as far as you can.
And the best way to do that is not say, "Hey, homeowner, why don't you pay me more?" You need to respect my body and the work I put in. The way to do that is to be a real business and show that there's a support and a structure and a system and there's a trust in all that stuff. It's not just asking for more money. So we're gonna check in with you. You haven't formally started yet. But we should check in later and see. I would love to get your impression of this whole.
Right now, he's at the top of the transition curve. We've talked about this at length. Until he gets to the bottom, and he's in his crisis of meaning. Yeah. And then eventually, you want to pull through and get into informed optimism. Right now, he's in uninformed optimism.
Yeah. Did you make a spreadsheet about his indoctrination?
No, it's not original, but he's seen the curve.
Oh yeah.
It's I think I've seen it from other companies, basically, and so I stole it.
It's true.
That's awesome.
Every job I've been in, it's been the same thing. There's always that trend. As long as you know it, helps to have a dose of reality.
There's comfort in numbers.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So, my list of things to talk about is on my phone, but I'm going to see if there's questions, and then if there's anything else you want to cover, maybe we can hit it there. So, sorry guys, I'm not going to give everybody a shout out here, but I'm just going to go through.
When is he growing a beard? I tried that once, and then I just was depressed because I met you in person, so I cut it.
Yeah, and then I meet Tyler, and I'm like, oh, man, I got a long way to go. I got 4 years ahead of me, so. All right, Mike Danahy, when a person relies on overtime to survive, how do you protect yourself as a business owner from his or her incentive to just work slower? Company culture. It's all company culture. And, if, at least for me, I know now that I would hope that my guys would trust me enough to either find them a higher paying position in the job. So if they want to make up that extra money, you say, okay, well, since this isn't a one-way street, what else can you do for my company? And let's see if we can thought experiment this into existence, So company culture would be one thing where if all my guys that get indoctrinated through the apprenticeship program, if we've gotten to the point where we're at this decision, it's first of all, it's just not going to happen. They would have made it this far, but we've built up enough trust where they would come to me and say, hey, by the way, I'm really relying on that extra, and I actually have one situation sort of like that now, and I've basically found so many value-added things, and especially in my stage of business, I actually delegated a few of my tasks to this person. So not only is he fulfilling his family role, I'm actually elevating a few of my other tasks, do more of those, and it's that there's a creative. It's not just will they work slower. That hopefully that you won't get at that. It's more of how can we all
culture and then accountability probably be the other piece. So like Nick, like you showed me some of your spreadsheet numbers, and Nick's doing an awesome job tracking stuff. It's pretty cool to see. But yeah, accountability would be another way you'd track that. Like we're just what are you producing per revenue you're producing per hour, and if you see a dip as soon as you start offering overtime, then you say, hey, here's the mirror. I can't afford to do this if we're not going to produce a certain revenue per hour. So I don't know if you guys are just getting more tired and less productive, but I need you to at least be more productive at the end. So accountability and culture would probably be
it's huge. Yeah, and I always forget about the accountability thing. That's a monster. Paul Rafferty, thank you so much. Let's see if we got any. Mike Danahy, glad my name isn't Chuck. There's got to be somebody chucking a truck painting out there.
We love Chuck.
Oh, chucking a truck, haha. He's a real busy guy where we are, Russ. Mike Danahy, I could be Mike on a bike. Okay.
Russ on a bus.
Russ on a bus.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go. We've descended. Let's talk spreadsheets, guys. Come on.
Millennials.
Mark,
do you want to come on this?
I don't have to.
Yeah. Let's get Mark on here, too. Mark's another millennial.
Oh, yeah. Come on up, man.
I guess for Mark, he's a cool story because he started out painting with me back in 2000.
Oh, so you're a real painter.
I've done it for about 3.5 years. Yeah. So,
It's good to meet somebody who actually can paint. No
Yeah.
offense. No, just
no, Jason's quick.
yeah,
Jason's quick.
I'm just not very patient.
yeah. None of us are. So what's your experience been, man? I mean, coming on with
Yeah.
Jason and
So how
Yeah.
old are you?
I'm 26. I
You're
graduated.
project managing the largest residential paint repaint contractor.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a pretty big deal.
that's huge.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's really impressive what he's
It's
doing.
huge.
It's been a fun ride, and after my first year is it was chaotic,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I expected because.
Did you have to learn that trade your first year, or did you come in with some experience?
I never painted before. I mean, maybe like a wall or two.
Yeah, yeah.
But started doing exterior stuff.
Uh-huh.
Went on to the interior, which obviously improved my exterior painting a lot. But I did that for around 3 years, all year round. And then as we started growing, I personally saw the need for more quality control.
Oh yeah.
And when you
yeah.
grow, you need that. So
Especially at the rate you were growing, which is insane. So yeah, somebody to check up on your jobs is probably a
so
good
Mark's
thing.
Mark's very talented at what he does, and he stepped into this role last year. So Mark doesn't paint anymore, which is a really cool. Again, like he's 26 and he's managing production for one of the largest residential repaint contractors probably in the nation. If you looked at it objectively.
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
so it's a cool story.
It's awesome. And what does your day to day look like?
So I'm doing a lot of running around. Try to schedule at least 4 to 6 job sites to go inspect or check up on, and then I'm in the office for a little bit, crunching some numbers or planning out some scheduling things with Jason. But it's mostly just being in the field,
Yeah.
problem solving.
So you're kind of like the eyes and ears for a lot of the operations.
So he's very
in the field.
competent, but I'd say like someone in Mark's role, he's extremely emotionally mature as well, which we need in his role because we're going through a lot of
Huge.
changes, and so he can problem solve, but he does so in a very mature way, which is super valuable. And he's a millennial, which people harp on the millennials, but that's why I thought it'd be interesting to just show these guys. And the one person we're missing is Chet, but he's out on a contractor bid right now.
Exactly.
Maybe he'll make it back.
Well, and you said even Chet, you said he got his general contractor's license now.
Yeah,
So,
he just got his
I
GC.
mean,
Yeah.
these lazy millennials, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Watch out.
So yeah, no, but that's awesome. Jason's always spoke highly of you. I'm glad I got to meet you finally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sounds like he relies on you pretty heavily. So remember that.
Come bonus time.
Come bonus time.
for real.
Yeah.
I'm just glad he gave me a chance. When he first interviewed me, he told me like 2 years later he thought I was going to fail.
Yeah. So I kept his paper file, and my biggest concern was like confidence or something. I was like,
Oh yeah.
but it was like August, and I was like, we need a body.
Oh yeah.
Right? And here he is, my best hire of all time. So,
God, isn't that funny how that
Yeah.
and what
yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's
Interviews
interesting.
are so invaluable, and Google is one of the best interviewing companies of all time, and they'll tell you that interviews are pretty much a crapshoot, right? When it comes down to it.
Absolutely.
I think Nick May, who runs the Business Brush, was talking about his interview is really show me for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what an interview is.
Exactly. You can spend some time sitting at a table, but of course they put
Yeah.
the right people to contact on their resume. What do you think
Yeah.
they're gonna, so that's not gonna
Yeah.
get you anything.
Some
So-
people won't, and it's good to have some barriers, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Well, just that they would give you a resume
yeah.
in our field is barrier number one.
but yeah,
You know?
it's again a young guy. He's taken on a ton of responsibility, and he's got a very high. He's very functionally competent, but also has a very high EQ, or emotional intelligence. Is that how I say it?
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, IQ and EQ.
Yeah, that's
which is
huge.
cool to see. But yeah, Mark does a lot of. He's responsible a lot for just making sure things go well. So like we were looking at the wall,
Yeah.
right? And so Mark's job is really to pull up these tiles that we've got, these swim lanes, and check the corners of them to make sure that the colors are. I kind of want to zoom out so people can't see.
And as me being a visual guy, which we've talked a lot about before,
Yeah.
seeing an entire week or two at a glance and immediately being able to know what's going on with something is
Yeah,
huge.
and really, I mean, the next you can see up to a 4-month timeline on this kind of a model. So Mark does a great job of prepping things, making sure they go well. But he's still growing in his role as well, as we are all in this company.
Well, I think everybody is in your company, right? I mean, you can do what you do today, plan a little bit, but you sort of just have to react at some point to
there's
what's
a lot
going on.
to adapting, and especially when you're growing.
Yeah.
But I think also in the trades coming up, there's going to be a lot of innovation, like Micah was talking about, and Hoken was talking about, I think, where it's going to be kind of adapt or die.
Yes.
Where you can certainly execute, and I say that maybe I'm talking myself out of it, because I know a lot of great companies that run on paper, right? And they execute, and a lot of this industry is about execution rather than.
But they are constrained because they can only do so much of that, correct?
Correct.
So they will never be the one to take 60% of the market in.
Yeah.
The
And then they may
Twin
have a
Cities.
hard time, attracting the really high level talent because they want to be part of a winning team, not
That's
a
true.
stagnant team. And so you play that out in just a
Yeah.
thought experiment. Maybe that's kind of the way that they die.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to think of how to best phrase the question, but so all of a sudden, to me, you notice some anomalies. Like, let's say Paris Painting. I mean, insane amount of logistical perfection here, and there's such a chasm between what you guys are doing in this office, and you guys have a lot of years ahead of you, and you're all progressive, and you're innovators. And then you get the alcoholic uncle in a rusty van. It seems like when you have the whole industry like this and a bunch of super fast growing people here, thought experiment time, does Jason Paris and the 5 other Jason Parises in the Twin Cities all of a sudden take 70% of the entire market and this dies out?
Yeah, so we're not the first person to have this thought, right? So there are a lot of franchises.
Yeah.
So this is it's like this, you've got floor coverings, like there's a lot of industries that are very fragmented with very bottom barrel, low performing entities.
Think of a lot of the basic trades.
Yeah, and so that's why franchises have really kind of come into play. And so we're not the first person to have this thought of when you have such a low performing fragmented market, how do you get a couple of high performers to really capture that with the opportunity? Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the reality of when that comes to play is, and I've just seen, like, there's a lot of franchise companies in our market that they do well, but they don't perform that well. And they really,
the performance is the whole other thing too.
They don't scale well or perform well. So I'm like, I don't really understand what their value is to the guys that are buying into them personally.
Yeah.
But they do, and so it's really like we're not the first one to have this thought. A lot of people are thinking it. I don't know where it flushes out, but it's really interesting because there's a lot of economic models that have always said that the trades are going to be the last thing to be automated, one of the hardest things to be automated.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think you're going to continue to see great people coming to the trades. Trades is going to have a shift. We're going to look back, like, man, remember 50 years ago when the trades were it was mostly humble bumble, and you could just show up and you'd win a bid? Like, now everyone's smart, everyone's savvy. It's kind of, I wonder if there's a parallel. But it's like anything, everything changes.
I think the one big constraint we have, though, is all those variables that we talked about before. So in like manufacturing, huge investment to get this machine that can make something.
Yeah.
But once that sucker going, you can speed it up, you can slow it down, and it'll do it over, and then you just get the next machine next to it. With us, you can get as many systems in place, but you can only systematize what we do so much. So yes, we can scale larger, but at some point, you're going to have such a manpower overseeing.
And I shouldn't bash the franchises because you look at what they're doing nationally, and it's like, yes, so one entity owns all these franchises nationally. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
But it'll be cool to see because there's some other young guys. I know, like, I think out of Indiana, like Orlando Hicks as a younger guy.
Yeah.
They'll probably see at the expo.
Absolutely,
There's a handful of us. You're obviously a younger guy. There's a handful of people that are, I think the word you always use is progressive.
Progressives,
They're kind of looking to shake things up, that want to innovate, and really want to push at the envelope and see how far we can go.
Yeah.
And my opinion on the market is that more people are going to enter into that than fewer. And so we're like, take advantage of what we have right now. It's probably not going to get any easier.
No.
Both from a competition standpoint and from a demand standpoint of the market in general. But I think that people are going to flock to the trades, and it's going to innovate, and you're going to get it's going to look radically different in the upcoming decades. We're going to look back and just be like, man, remember when it used to be like that?
Exactly. And to me, it's like Facebook Live or it's like podcasting. Like 10 years ago, if you had a podcast, nobody knew what to do with it. Yeah. But it somehow was like, something about this makes sense. And you just do it for a while, and then all of a sudden, if you got in first, you've already had a decade of innovation and progressiveness where you can perform your systems. Where if somebody gets in now, if you were to try to be the top performing podcast, you have a mountain. Where 10 years ago, you might blip up and down that chart.
That's
based
interesting
on
to think about, because like my company has only blipped on in the past handful of years. And so
you've really only been in business for how many years?
So I formed the entity in 2012, and I did a couple decks, and then I quit my job, and we went full-time in 2014. So 14, 15, 16, 17, this will be your full year number 5 coming out. But you look at, theoretically, some of my competitors, 4 years in the business, they're exactly where I am. And so if you get 5 or 6 of those guys in Twin Cities, what kind of market disruption is that in 4 or 5 years?
Huge.
And that's where I think that's reasonable to what we would see.
Yes.
Where you get 4 or 5 of me's in the market that are millennials or younger, and they're going to say, instead of going into software engineering, instead of going into financial accounting, instead of going into higher education management, I forgot what Mark was. Target. He's going to work at Target. But instead of doing any of those,
you're disrupting him. Let him work.
He's actually, he's working on a video right now that's really cool.
Awesome.
Because we always look at your social media stuff and feel bad about what we do. But I'd say, so you get a handful of those guys that jump into the trades in different industries, and really it takes not that much time. And I could have done what I did a lot smoother, a lot faster. If I had actually dove into a company like the PDCA or the Business Brush, I could have learned so much.
Which is scary.
Yeah.
For somebody who's grown what you've grown in that short couple of years, if you had the PDCA and the Business Brush and all this other resources year 1, wow.
So think about, again, you just take a handful of those in the Twin Cities, how much the market could be disrupted in a handful of years.
How many, what did they say, Chuck in a truck, what was the other one, Dan in a van? How many how many Russ in a buses would, let's say you have 30 painters in your company. Obviously, your painters are going to produce more than the Russ in a bus. How many, theoretically, I know this wouldn't happen, how many Russ in a bus would you displace with your 30-man company? Would you displace 60?
This is where Torlando talked about, he did a post about really Chuck in a truck should probably not be running his own company. He might be better suited working for a painting company and just having a little more guidance, a little more high structure. But you would say they'd be displaced in some. I think a lot of trades companies are going to be displaced because other people are being displaced. automation is a big displacement. And where do you think those automators are? The people who are being replaced by automation, where do you think they're going to go? This is where, if you've ever met the CEO of the PDCA, what's his name? Steve Skodak.
Yeah.
When he talks, it's just
it's good perspective.
I'm wow. So he'll talk about things that just blow my mind.
Yep.
But
he always talks about those large movements in industries and trends and things.
And historical wars. I'm oh my gosh. So, but it's kind of that mindset of, where do these people go when automation happens? And they're probably, again, one of the harder things to automate is the trades. Long term, I think each house will have a robot, and then you bid on tracks to manipulate that robot to do the trade. But that's long scale. But anyways, so that happens. Yeah, where do these people go? They go into the trades.
Because we're still. It's not that we're always going to be there. We might be the last holdout because it's so hard to automate that painting of an interior wall.
Yeah, it's harder to automate than accounting. It's harder to automate than a lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's harder to automate than a doctor writing prescriptions.
Even landscaping at some point is going to be easier to manipulate than the inside of somebody's house.
This is something new flushing out. Some of the hardest things to scale are becoming the hardest things to automate through AI. And I don't have a firm grasp of AI. I think some other smarter people in painting probably do, like the Paint Zen guy.
Yeah.
He's a pretty smart guy. I think some people have a better grasp of AI. I don't truly understand it the way that I would like to.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that displacing things through automation, the things that are hardest to automate are also hardest to scale.
Yeah,
so when we're in our humble bumble painting company, it's not a bad place to be because we can kind of.
Yeah.
It'll probably be one of the most profitable places to be.
Yeah, because it might be one of those things where sooner or later, when everybody gravitates towards, tech jobs eventually or something, but, there may only be a few players in the market that can actually take care of stuff like that, or people that people would trust, because sooner or later, as people get more savvy, remember when Uber came on, everybody was like, oh, but these strangers in their own vehicles are going to come in. Everybody's going to get murdered. Yeah. And turns out it's way better than taxis.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was
way better.
I was at the PDCA in Chicago, and we were getting an Uber ride to the airport. And a guy like standing in the corner, he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "No, we got an Uber." He's like, "Why don't you call Blue Taxi?" And I'm like, "What is Blue Taxi? Like, I'm a millennial. It's an app."
Yeah, we don't have
and
to.
he
do
was
any
so
of that.
frustrated,
Yeah.
right? Because I was probably the 8th guy.
Yeah.
He like didn't kind of. He's just like, so you'll probably see that too. Where people are just like, "Why aren't you hiring the Chuck in the trucks?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Well,
Bill's been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
He's so good, but Bill doesn't return a phone call.
Yeah.
And you can order something on your phone, and it shows up, and and you can rely on it, which is the big thing, you know.
So
one other thing I wanted to ask you. I'm so sorry. I'm monopolizing the entire day here. So do you have to go?
no, this is the highlight of my week.
Oh, stop
Whenever-
it. You say that you're looking at your watch saying, when is this guy gonna get out of here and let me work again? Okay, the last thing, thought experiment time. We should just have a quarterly thought experiment time with
Dude,
Jason
come up
Paris.
anytime you want to come up. You're
Okay.
always invited.
So, I've been recently thinking about ways. I told you my big challenge for myself now is to say, okay, the craft is there, and now I want to see. I don't want to do what ordinary businesses do in our. It seems like I should challenge myself to do something else because I might have a unique opportunity to do something. So now, how can I keep like world-class craftsmanship? I'm curious to see how far that will go.
Yeah.
So, 2 questions for you. What can my business structure is basically me doing all the sales, me doing all the marketing. I have a right-hand man who assists in production. Oh, he's got the calculator out. Here we go.
TA83.
Everybody in my business but me works an 8-hour day.
Yep.
So, how much can I produce at this? Given I have a 40 to 50 hour week to work myself in.
Yeah. How many crews do you have?
4 and
So I
a
think-
half.
You only want one right-hand man?
See, this is where I don't have any dogma about any of this.
Yeah.
I want to see if one person can take control of 10 people,
So,
that's comfortable, but how many, given a special set of skills?
Yeah. I think depending on so one variable would be the level of pay and responsibility and competency of your crew leads, which is hard to find, or can be hard to find.
Yep.
Now, you're very unique because you can train people better than maybe anybody in the nation. You're very
That's
competent.
kind of you to say. May
I
not
think
be
it's,
true.
Yeah, but I think it's I think that's a real strength that you have. So because a lot of infrastructure is to cover the deficiencies and inefficiencies of people as they grow into scale.
You add a 10 to cover a 5.
Yeah, so like
and
you
then
can
never
manage like
5.
3 to 4 crews, you know, because you need to check on them here and there, and you need to help them solve problems. So like Mark's job, right? It'd be great if I had, you know, 13 Marks running 13 different job sites. I don't, and so that's why Mark exists. And he will do that. So it's going to depend on your people and your ability to train them.
Maybe a better question instead of open-ended. Could I run a 20-man painting company in my function right now, doing all the sales, all the marketing?
Yeah, I think so. So we last year,
But with only maybe one person not painting.
I don't know. So like, you're not gonna like these answers, but it's like
No, this is what
so
I'm
it's
here
like,
for.
what's your average job size? What's your kill ratio? You
Yeah.
know how, and it's because those things are gonna be, and what time do you spend marketing? You know how much time you spend per estimate, because that's gonna eat up some of your estimating time. But when you're a really high performer, my gut check is you can. Like I did. So last year we did just over 2.2. The year before we did 1.35. The year before that we did 0.9, and
Which is insane.
yeah, it felt insane.
Which is insane.
It felt insane. And then the year before that we did 0.5. The year before that we did 0.18. So, yeah, it depends. I think if you can leverage technology and your leadership ability, you can do a lot yourself. The thing that's probably going to suck up the most of your time, knowing what you're good at, is your just pure estimating. If you want to do all the estimates, that's going to eat up the most of your time. But it's also, I did some buddy estimates with Hoken the other day, and we talked about some of the fundamentals to an estimate, and part of it is defining the scope.
Yeah.
Part of it is meeting the client's needs, and part of it is ensuring that the project goes smoothly. And that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part, because for me, like, there were even little things that I picked up on where, like, I remember the pain of a project, and so I asked a specific question to make sure we dial that in.
Yep.
And I haven't written that down prior to that. We hadn't talked about it before.
Yeah.
And so the estimator can oftentimes make sure that the project goes smoothly by dialing some things in. So that's one of the harder parts, but that would probably be your funnel, if I were to guess. I think you're very talented at creating a production team. You're really talented at leading people. So I don't think you would have as many fires to put out in the production end as a normal
Yeah.
business would. I think that's going to be your easiest part to scale.
Which is interesting to me because since being involved with the PDCA, one of the big things I always want to know is everybody talks about how much revenue they make and how many guys they have. Not one person has ever answered me, how many times do you get called back?
Right.
What percentage of your jobs gets called back? It's a moot point. I think that would be a very, like, yes, if you're a one-man company, you could brag to an 80-man company that I never get called back. Yes,
Right.
but you're making $120,000 gross revenue a year. Fine. I'm wondering how much value that adds in a larger company if you can instill the culture where basically you never get called back to a job. I'm wondering, nobody's ever sort of talked about the efficiencies that might help. And it may stop at some point.
Huge.
To me it's huge, but everybody else seems to be, win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
You know? And to me it's like, oh no, it's not just the time to go back to a job. Trust with your customer is the best thing on earth.
Yep.
Now what?
Yeah, it's a very long-term return on a game
Exactly,
like that.
because it's not something you can just grab a hold of and do. So
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about your story is you're kind of in that mindset of how do I scale up my model? You know, you're not trying to become a franchise.
Yeah.
You're not trying to just scale for the sake of scaling. You're wondering how much do you scale your model? And you think you're very open-minded to what that looks like in the future.
completely.
And things like that. And it's been fun. I think the last time you were here, I was trying to talk you into, like, how do you get to where you're not doing everything? And you were and you're like, I can't sleep at night. And I tried to do like a shirt analogy. And you're like, well, my shirts are changing colors. I'm like, no, your shirt's not changing color. So that's been really cool to see you. I think the first time I realized that you were getting there is when you made the statement, like, you said, I'm not on the site all the time. I'm there for spiritual guidance and to problem solve.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when you said that, I was like, wow, Nick's like changed.
Only because it finally made sense.
Yeah.
The problem is that I see is there's a lot of guys who don't even have employees and they're already saying, how do I work myself out of a job? Well, you need to have jobs to work yourself out of, you know, and I think taking that, a lot of times people read the E-Myth and they think work is for suckers.
Right.
I shouldn't be working.
Right.
Well, no, you're supposed to work in the way that only you can for the business, that your employees can't and things, so, yeah. But another thing I wanted to run by you is, as I think about scaling this business, I mean, obviously, if interior projects are one project a day for each one of my crews, if I have 5 crews out there, I have to do 25 closed jobs and color consultations per week, which would basically eat up a 50-hour week for me entirely. So one of my strategies this year was to seek out higher-end home builders so that I turn a one-day project into a 4-week project now.
Yep.
So that's one of the ways that this is the low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
After that, then you have to get fancy and creative.
Yeah, you would position really well for that too, because you're very craftsmanship, and you've got a great story too. So you would meet with the project managers, and they would probably eat you right up.
I hope so.
So if anyone's going to do well at that, it'd be you.
And I think after that,
we do well at it just by saying we can service your logistics.
The ability to actually do
and
these jobs in a blitz is a huge thing for these builders.
And
now.
they're like, well, you don't have a very nice beard like Slavik. I'm like, well,
less paint to get in it. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to just run by you is in thinking about far-fetched ways that I can scale or make my time more valuable is, what do you think about the advent of Skype and Facebook Live with estimates? Because right now I'm driving 40 minutes to each one of my estimates.
Yeah.
So first thing that comes to your mind when you say, I mean, obviously we're not going to be able to see the little things there, but obviously there could be a huge upside. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about estimates or?
Yeah, budget bids.
Yeah.
So I do this with people
Mhm.
at times. I've done this with contractors at
Yep.
times, where I will basically pull up a satellite image of their
Yep.
house. I'll twirl it around, and I'll say, are you looking at $45,000 for that?
Yep.
The variables that will change that price are prep and detail work.
Now, you mentioned other contractors. What about Aunt Elsie who needs 3 bedrooms?
I haven't done that with Aunt Elsie.
Yeah.
Partially, I haven't even thought through it, but I know.
Because those are, when I think about my business, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the time, I put the same amount of time estimating a new house, a 5,000 square foot house, as I do driving up to Aunt Elsie's house to do 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then I have to do a color consultation for her, so I usually go back and do her. So sometimes I could have twice the amount of my personal time invested into a 3-room
So
project.
you're already realizing this is your funnel.
Versus
right?
you start, and again, I'm only looking for solutions after a solution needs to be needed.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so that's sort of what
Yeah, I think you would. I mean, you could talk to a ton of smart people, even outside of me, and they would tell you, pre-qualify your leads. You can throw budget bids out there, but you also don't want price shoppers. You want to. A lot of people won't even throw a budget bid out until you meet with them.
Yeah, I don't. I do that.
But I think you should do some pre-qualifying it. So if that's your biggest, variable, or if that's your biggest time sink, then you'd want to increase your SR.
Yeah.
Right. If you're gonna, how far do you push that model? The way you would push that model is increasing your SR. One way to do that would be to pre-qualify your leads, or get better at sales, or get better at closing.
Yep.
I think you and I have talked, and you're a pretty passive closer. I think
Super.
Your mindset is, if they want to use me, that's great. I'm not going to buy.
I think I might have actually insulted you on the phone the other day. I was been replaying this thing. I make it a point to never actually ask for anything or do it. I'm almost like,
I'm a closer.
I try to. This comes from an abundance mentality, though, for my entire life.
Well, so I look people in the eye and I say, I know you're going to be happy. I know we're going to do a great job.
Yeah.
I know that we're competitive.
Yeah.
Like, I think you should go with us. And they were like,
man, that makes that's so uncomfortable for me.
Well, Hoke and I wrote a bid yesterday. I hope we got to call back Monday. Let's see how it goes.
It was so nice.
But I was just like,
it passive aggressive too.
But I was just like, she wants permission to buy because she knows that we're good. I mean, she's done her research. We showed up on time. We called her the day before. We've got great materials. I mean, we look like presentable people. Yeah. And like, does she really want to call another painter at this point? No. And so, I mean, maybe she does. But I told him, like, what do you think about it? She's like, oh, it's great. I got to think about it a little bit. Make sure it's in the, it's competitive. I told her, I know we're competitive. I know for what we're doing, we're very competitive.
Because you know your numbers. You're not guessing.
This isn't my first rodeo. Yeah. I've painted more. I've sold and managed more products than most people have in a lifetime. Exactly. Even in my 4 years of business, because we've done so much scale. So I can confidently look at someone and say,
it's repetition for you. You've put in the reps.
I think we should paint your house. And so I'm a closer, but like Hoken's not a. He's a little
different.
I'm with you, brother.
He's different.
I'm right there.
So I'm still. I think it's good to ask. I think there's different ways. You gotta find a way to do it.
I would love to talk with you guys more about that because it's one of those things.
Where are you on your D with your disc?
I don't know.
Are you on?
I did it, and it was completely adaptive. Like it's not. It reflects what people see of me in my business, but it's completely opposite of what I feel. So I don't know how.
I think part of it was like Hoken has a lot of empathy. I don't want to say I lack empathy because it sounds bad, but I lack empathy probably. So I don't have a problem just telling people like, I think you should do this. I think we're the best. Can I paint your house this summer? And you two are more similar.
Well, now I'm curious. Now I'm one, and the problem is that in my town, if I ask for it, I feel like, oh, that's kind of rude. You know me. If you're not going to take me, you're not going to take me. But we've known each other for 35 years.
So again, I have no problem. Like, I don't know if this is going to be beneficial to you. If it is, I hope it is. And I hope you succeed.
And remember, I'm open.
You can come up to Edina and compete with me in the market as much as you want.
3 months ago, I thought this was all. This was all black magic. Yeah. I now have a projector in my war room.
We're good.
We're open. Yeah. We're open.
So I would say people want to buy from you, and they need permission from you. And just think if you've ever been in those shoes before. So like I've been in those shoes where I'm like, this is a great presentation. Let me think about it for another week. Like, okay, is there anything you really think? I guess the budget, but it's like $5 a month. Like, I actually do want to buy. So like I've been in the shoes where I've wanted to buy, but I want someone to give me permission that it's okay. Yeah. And I think that's what people want sometimes.
That's something that I don't think I've fully grasped yet.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm talking through it, and hopefully my competitors are listening to this, and that'd be great. Like, I'll get great at sales, but
we should do buddy estimates sometime. If you'd ever
we should just be buddies.
Aren't we?
Yes.
No, we can do buddy but honestly, listen, I know we're so close, and it might get sensitive, but honestly, I would just love to. Yeah. I've never been in an actual sales.
Man, I love sales. So I'm like getting energized right now because I like sales. It's because I feel like I'm good at it. Yeah. And I'm good at selling paint jobs. I've done thousands of estimates. I've sold a lot of houses. Yeah. I'm pretty good at it. Okay, and my guys they're like, okay, Jason's got.
They're probably saying, let's go, figurehead of the business. These guys are doing all the sales, and Jason's taking all that.
That's true. So, anyways, man, I'd be happy to sometime.
Oh, that'd be awesome. It's such a far stretch from what I do.
The way you want to run your business, that's probably going to be your funnel. Is your time spent doing the sales.
Yeah. And right now already it is that. I'm already sensing, and I can manage this completely, but already you start looking for. what would a 20-hour week look
Yeah,
like?
just
What
know
would
that I
I,
have
you
a
know-
very different style than like you or a Hoken.
Yes.
So like I'm very much logistics. Let me hit your needs. Let me tell you should go with us.
Your meat and potatoes.
I mean, I've sold like $7,000 jobs and walked away with a deposit in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like where I show up, boom, walk around the house. But my weakness is like I don't build that much rapport.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
You want to tell me about your dog, and I'm like, okay, that's a dog. Confirmed. That is an animal.
Is he a serial killer?
So
He's a serial son.
Wow, holy cow.
so that's strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yeah,
So
but
like,
I suppose you bond super tight with some homeowners, and some homeowners are probably put off
so I
by
think
that.
so I've gotten some feedback from people, and like this. So I think I build like trust and credibility because people know I'm there to do my job.
Yeah.
And like, I also like to sell to high value clients.
Yeah.
And like sometimes like they want to be.
They're more of like a business?
They want to be slapped around a little bit
Yeah.
sometimes. Like that's just the reality of if you. I read there was a New York Times article about how we're a little hour and a half into this.
Oh, man. Well, we're still not going to beat my record of 2 hours with the historic guy, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
But basically, yeah. So that's my style. Is like I like to just shoot it straight. I'm there to do a job.
Yeah.
I'm there to give them what they need. I talk to them enough so that they trust us. But Hoken is a much better relator,
Empathizer
and
kinda
empathizer, and like he'll talk to you about. So we did a bid yesterday, and he booked it on the spot because he's a closer. And we talked about the dog for like 7 minutes, and it was so painful. I was just like, "Yes, you have a dog. This is great."
I love that. I love
And
that.
Hoken, we talked about it after, and he just enjoyed it because he could tell I was kind of like.
Getting antsy.
Getting
Like,
antsy,
yeah, wasted
so.
time.
But so that's my style. So I'm just the reason I'm saying that is we have different
That's
styles.
so interesting, yeah. And you know what might even be more beneficial, I would never assume that you would do it, I think I'd love to get your input on one of my estimates.
Yeah.
It may make your skin crawl.
You know what I think it would be is kind of like we've looked at businesses and different structures where what's important and what's a frill. So you and I talked about this at length, and there's probably no one's going to watch this for this long. But the
you know
people
what?
that are,
the people that are going to watch it 6 times.
well, they're going to get the secret thing at the end. So the secret thing at the end is people always ask me, and I've thought about it because I had no idea this was interesting. People ask, how do you go from 180 to 2 million in a handful of years? And I'm not the only one who's done it, but it's by focusing on the things that are important, like execution. And so we talked about like you can spend 50 energy points on making your proposal this much better, but if it's good enough to where you can present it and sell it, like that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
That to some extent, and then eventually you scale up and you try and refine and smooth things in. So your
Then
estimates.
you fine tune it. Yeah, you
like
don't
my-
need. Yeah, if you're not answering your calls immediately, you don't need to be fine tuning the image on your estimate of something.
Exactly.
Low hanging fruit.
Yep. So that may be like, that's just the way I approach my estimates.
Yeah.
Is what's a very effective, efficient way to do it. Especially because I've done so much of the sales.
Yeah.
Where like I'll just churn them out and I'll be like boom, 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 go to one to the other. But yeah, it's also everyone has their own style, and I think that's the
Absolutely,
best
yep.
way to do sales is be true to your style.
Yeah. Be genuine.
Yeah, be genuine, and that's what people want. at the
And
end of
that
the day.
leads to trust, which is basically what we're all trying to do here.
Yeah.
We just need the homeowner's
That's
trust.
why it works for me. Is
Yeah.
because that's my genuine nature, and people can tell that I'm being sincere with them and honest with them. And the questions I'm asking are not just fluff questions.
Yeah.
Like they're logistical process questions. They know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then you go from there.
Really cool. Well, all right. Well, I'm going to see if there's any big questions left, and we probably get back to work here. So, video
They
is
got me
going.
fired up.
Mic on a, I know, right?
There's a comment there. Millennial entrepreneur in Ohio, female. Awesome. Lady out there.
Right on. Nick May was watching
They're
there.
coming,
Sorry.
man.
Yeah, Nick May probably chimed in an hour and 10 minutes ago.
Bring the mic down.
Went to college for HR, hated the job. I landed after graduating, so started a painting business. There you go. Oh, yeah, that's the one you got.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Nice.
Galloway, that's awesome.
They're coming, man. Just wait.
Podcast. That's right,
Business
buddy.
Brush for not
Yeah.
listening to
Hey,
it.
I listened to Annie Newton on the way up here, so I'm getting a complete gut full of paint business stuff today. So, and honestly, if you've not been a part of the Business Brush, you got to go through Nick May's firewall. But it's basically whatever we did here today on Ask a Painter happens on this Facebook group.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
wish I had that 2 years ago. That would have been a game changer.
I've been in this business for almost 25 years now, and 2 years ago I met another painter for the first time.
Yep.
And everything that's ever happened, it's the hockey stick. For 23 years of my life, it's been 20% growth, and the last 2 years, bam, just like that. Just because perspective, and even from people who could technically be competitors. So It's a big thing. Paul Rafferty, thank you so much, sir. Steve Dowd, thank you so much. Let's see what else we got here. Sorry, guys. I usually give a big shout out to everybody, but we gotta get through this. Steve Dowd, you guys are motivating me to put the brush down and grow. Plus, my back's starting to get sore. And again, remember, the goal is not to stop painting. The goal is to be satisfied with your job.
Yeah.
If you are the most satisfied human on earth restoring historic homes, don't stop that. You might not find satisfaction in running a 30-person
Right.
business.
Yeah.
You know, that's huge. And
Yeah.
my goal, I fought putting down my tools.
Yeah.
8 months ago, I was still laboring 10 hours a day with the crew. I only stop, it's my theory on overhead, I only stop when it becomes abundantly clear that there's a benefit to stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, you never take on an accountant or somebody you pay unless it becomes abundantly clear that that will benefit you. And it is very clear. If you have to ask, you know, sometimes when we should do this, you may not have been to that point yet. So yeah, so don't feel like the goal is to not work, because Lord knows we probably put in more hours than our laborers. I know for sure that I probably log 2 of my apprentices probably equal the hours of me every week. We just do different things.
Yeah. Right now.
Right now, exactly. And as soon as the people come up, and you know, good perspective is basically 2 years ago, my 12-person company, nobody had ever touched a brush before. So
Yeah.
I have to front load a lot of this. I have 60 to 70% of my employees in their young apprenticeship stages. So it's perspective for you guys out there. So when we talk about this, it's not always about revenue and number of people. It's what stages are you in, where are you going to, what are you trying to get out of it? It's a whole bunch of stuff. So don't think that, you know, one person's goal should be yours as well too. So let's see what else we got here. You guys are a credit to the trade. Keep raising the bar. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Mike Anthony, we're a company of 3 partners. That sounds messy. We do our own marketing, sales, painting. We hit a point where we were just owning a job and got that burnt out feeling. We are at a plateau, and I hope it lets me see some more. Shoot. And looking to break. Oh boy, that's a tough one. Mike, if you are truly 3 partners, that's a tough one. I actually got a question through the PDCA a couple months ago about somebody who had, I think, 3 or 4 partners in their business, and they were just not making any income. I mean, they would pay themselves. There would be no profit in their company. And, you know, they're trying to figure out ways to stay within, you know, I think they had like 8 or 10 painters, and they had all this leadership thing. So basically, we did some thought experiments, and we said, well, either you're going to have this many painters to make up for your leadership team, or why don't you just buy each other out? Why doesn't one leader could make a handsome profit, but you're spreading it out over 4 people? So that's tough.
Yeah.
If you want to support 4 executives, you're going to have 4 companies, basically. Yes, no, am I thinking about that wrong?
I think there's a lot of variables in what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I would say, like, questions like that, go to the PDC Expo and try and find someone at the dinners or something, because
that's not something I've had to encounter yet. But boy, that seems messy.
there could be a lot of variables in something like that.
Huge. Yep. Russ Perry, if you could ask only one interview question, what would it be? Do you?
Well, you're the best at hiring people.
I'm so sorry for everybody. I'll do this respectfully as possible. There is no magic question. I make people, I give them a little hurdle. You have to meet me, and you have to just sit down and talk with me. And a lot of the times, I actually feel bad because I've never looked at their resume.
Yeah.
So they send me a resume, and that's a hurdle. And they send it to me, and I'm not really interested. I'm curious what they've done here and there, or if they have some cool thing. I just interviewed an illustrator the other day, and so we talked about that. But you have to sit down and meet with me. So I put 2 small hurdles, and those 2 small hurdles are way better than any interview question. You make them send you a resume. If they can't do that, door's not even open. Then you have to come to me in my town and sit with me and talk with me for half an hour. And if they do those 2 things, you can tell that's pre-qualification, pre-qualifying. So.
Yeah. The one interview hint I'll give is I like to do walk-in talks. So I feel like when you're sitting down, it's very like, what is your greatest weakness? I'm a perfectionist.
Exactly.
So I always make people walk around the building with me, and it just feels like it kind of loosens it up, and I can just, you know, okay, that sounds interesting. And I feel like people are a little more open when you're walking, but I think
it gives them something to look at beside your eyes.
Yeah, interviews are kind of roll the dice. Google is
It
written on
absolutely
that pretty
is.
extensively. So
It absolutely is. So yeah, if it's one of those things where somebody says if you all right, so we're losing connection, so let's browse through here real quick. And if you guys have any other questions too, we'll be doing this. We'll go back on and answer some questions later. But
shirt analogy.
Dustin Zapancic, another awesome. Have you ever met Dustin?
No, I'm excited to meet
You're
him.
gonna meet. He made me just go back, and he was sort of the first like younger person who's running a super progressive company. That's sort of like, oh my god, like. That's really interesting. Nobody else is doing that, and I went back and immediately made a whole bunch of changes in my company. Russ Perry. That's a great answer. This has been an awesome show today.
Cool.
Can't put a monetary value on this. I bet you if you put some cash in an envelope and sent it to me, you could. But no, that's
Start
awesome,
selling your
guys.
mugs.
No way. Nothing will ever be for sale. So, okay, guys, thanks a lot. This has been awesome. That somebody like Jason and all his lazy millennials here would give us the time is amazing. So we're going to do this periodically as long as he'll let me in his shop, and we'll do this. Any questions you guys have, send them here. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. And what Jason and I did here, we will be doing next week at the PDCA, but with 400 people.
Yeah, some of the best. Yeah, anyone who's willing and interested in investing in their business is that's the threshold.
How I look up to your company and what you're doing, you're going to find those
oh my gosh.
companies that...
I've got a couple on my hit list already.
It's insane.
I've got like 3 guys on my hit list that I really want to find.
It's going to be amazing. So every year there's the big national expo. There's the craftsmanship forum, which is a lot of crafters, guys who are super good at the craft, which I actually met you for the first time.
Yeah.
We had to go to Chicago to meet for the first time and then come back here. And then there's the residential forum, and then there's the commercial forum too. So for residential painters, commercial
Residential's
painters.
in Minneapolis.
It's here this year. So again, if you guys want to come up here and we'll take you fishing, we'll take you hunting. Yeah, and you can come by Jason's shop and see his war room. I'm extending the invitation for you.
Oh,
so, no, that's awesome, guys. I appreciate it. Everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.